Hello, my name is Emma, and I have been creating quite a few nervous system regulation live streams and videos and yoga based classes and meditations on this channel for a little while now, a lot more this year, but over the years as well, sporadically. And in doing that, I realized while I've explained a little bit of what nervous system regulation is and what some of the benefits are in some of my live stream videos and some of my yoga videos, I haven't really fully gone into it or explained my experience with it or answered maybe some of the common questions that, validly anyone watching a video like that would want to know. So I decided to do that today. And the actual reason that prompted me to do that is someone left a comment on one of my shorts asking basically what is it, why would I want to do it, what are the results, and just some quite good questions actually, which I couldn't really answer in that short because the short is usually a clip of an example of a longer video, for example. So I thought I would make this video, and here I am. Okay, and just a brief background if you're new to me and my videos. I have been teaching yoga and meditation, qualified yoga teacher. Meditation's a part of it, for 15 years now, I would say. I first got qualified as a yoga teacher when I was 21. I started my teacher training when I was 20. Well, no, 19 actually. No, 20, yeah. And I started practicing yoga at around age 18. So I've been practicing yoga for 18 years, teaching for about 15, going on 16, I guess. So just so you know my experiences, there's been gaps and spaces in between for various reasons. And yeah, but I have been involved in that yoga world for quite a while and had a lot of my own experiences personally with the results of yoga, spiritual awakening, things that to do with your energy field, your energetic activation spiritually, and learning about how to process those experiences, integrate them, ground them, and use them in at least my own life in a healthy and productive way. So, everyone is always learning, but at least I feel like I have quite a few experiences and understanding of the process of, spiritual, or at least a little bit of the process of spiritual awakening, yoga, meditation, and what can happen and does happen when using those tools. Obviously, I, I, I would always be tempted, uh, hesitant, that's the word. So I'm in a public place right now and I'm hearing walkers walk past me. So if there's a little bit of distraction in me here and there, that's all it is, just being aware of my environment. I would always be hesitant to say expert or qualified because, you know, as human beings, we only know what we think we know. And what we think we know is only a little bit, and who knows how accurate it is. But I have experiences that I feel comfortable and confident sharing about thus far, which my perception and understanding may change in the future, but who knows? So, like any human being or anyone in a teaching role, I'm just sharing my understanding and experience. So, let's bring this to nervous system regulation, which, it's so intertwined in yoga. Yoga is a form of nervous system regulation. It's so healthy and balancing for your nervous system. We learn about our nervous system via the practice of yoga. Yoga is a little bit deeper, it's a bit more energetic, it has a different kind of focus, but it's intertwined. There's this beautiful synergy, and yeah, it's like in the fabric of what yoga is connected to and does for your body at a physical level. I'm just going to take some water as I'm talking. Feel free to join me in hydration. Okay. So what is nervous system regulation? Okay. For me personally, I'm quite new to the more active approach of utilizing exercises and tools intentionally to regulate my nervous system. This is something I've implemented in a more focused, intentional way, like on a daily basis for the past 2 years. And it's my application of it that has just taught me how powerful it is to have the tools to be able to calm ourselves down, regulate ourselves, release emotional stress and tension, and to have things come back to a level of homeostasis in our system, but into a more balanced place where we have a sense of autonomy and choice over how we think, respond, react, choose to show up in our lives, or our ability to and capacity to deal with the events of our lives, our internal reality, our own thoughts and feelings, and being able to regulate your system down out of states of fear, distress, anxiety, PTSD, despair, helplessness, hopelessness, complete and total shutdown, which can all be expressions of a dysregulated nervous system or co participants in those emotional experiences. So, what I'm really saying there is, for example, if you have a traumatic experience or something happens that's extremely painful for you that puts you in states of despair and helplessness and a lot of grief, that's something outside of you that's happened that you've responded to. Your nervous system goes into a survival state. It might be shutting down to protect you emotionally, and there's so many levels to what's happening there in your, spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally. The sun is blaring in my face. Thank you, the light, for affirming that. But what's happening there? There's an event, and you have more than likely an extreme emotional reaction, and the nervous system is like this. It's obviously a system of nerves, this structure that often will protect when you're overwhelmed by feelings. So you can have a lot of this emotional experience going on, this emotional trauma, plus and intertwined with your nervous system assisting your body, your psyche, in how it's going to deal with that experience. The sun is, Jesus, sorry, that's better for a moment. A little bit sidetracked there by that. The sunlight in my face. I guess what I'm saying there is that the nervous system is like this. I want to say the word tool, but I don't even know if that's it. It's one aspect of your body being psyche's way of coping and dealing with certain events, and it really does influence how we interpret those events and process those feelings. And it's this container. It's hard to explain just through words, because my experience with getting to know my nervous system and kind of making friends with it and working with it has taught me this kind of unspoken language of its own process, of my own way of dealing with things. I don't want to get too sidetracked, but just for example, if I had noticed myself in a shut down state, these days I am able to, because I understand more about the nervous system, I might not realize I'm quite shut down, but once I recognize those signs and symptoms, and there's many of those things I could go into after, once I recognize it, I actually have the tools to get myself out of that state. Whereas when I was younger, before I understood this, I would have been operating in a shutdown state, looking for ways to soothe myself, to feel better, to get out of that sense of entrapment and disconnection from my heart and my feelings, and to feel better again, but in ways that maybe weren't really that helpful or just missed the point. Food, distraction, entertainment, seeking out types of healing modalities that didn't quite hit the point that I really needed, which was that physical embodiment and my nervous system to come back into safety. And a lot of those things that I might have been seeking mentally, emotionally, socially were maybe not necessary for the core thing that my body needed to come back to balance, to homeostasis. I hope that makes sense. I feel like there was a slight tangent. I'm pulling on memories here to try and communicate something, but yeah. So what is nervous system regulation? Okay, I'll have some more water and I'll try and answer that. in layman's terms, from my current understanding and my current experience with utilizing nervous system regulation tools, it is getting your body back to you're getting your nervous system and your body, your body, your body back to a regulated state. So it's going from a sympathetic state. Sympathetic is like an activated fight, flight, freeze. Freeze state is a mixture apparently of the sympathetic and parasympathetic, but sympathetic state is generally a stress state in your body. It's usually a state where your body is releasing a lot of cortisol. A lot of your energy is going to like your extremities. Well, no, actually, I think it's the other way around. There's, yeah, it does. Sorry, you got to remember everything I understand about this and don't understand still. Going to extremities to protect you, so to fight, to protect, to run. So apparently, what can happen as well at a physiological level is, a lot of that energy gets taken away from some of the other healing functions of your body just to go on to the survival functions. So away from like the healing in the organs and different parts of your system to just let's survive, let's run, let's hide, let's do whatever we need to do to keep our body alive and safe. This is whether or not there's an actual physical threat or a remembered threat or a perceived threat. So your nervous system is very connected to your subconscious mind as well. If you've had traumas in your past, regardless of what they are, they could come in many different ways. If an event in the future triggers off a memory or your nervous system to feel that something feels similar to that traumatic event in the past, it can cause a trigger in your nervous system, and your nervous system to get into a dysregulated state, into a state of fight, flight, freeze. And there's also fawn, apparently. There's another state in your system or way of protecting and keeping yourself safe. But that can get triggered off and your body can respond to an event that isn't actually threatening but has maybe a tone or a similarity or something that feels similar that triggers you off to think, oh, I need to run for my life right now, or that bad thing is happening again, even when it might not be. And maybe it is happening in a similar way, and maybe the danger isn't as much, but you still need to respond. And sometimes your nervous system can overreact, which is one reason why, this is going to be the second question, why would you want to regulate your nervous system? That is, good God, I feel like I'm learning as I'm speaking right now. Like I'm speaking a seminar, I'm like, where are all these words coming from? Jeez, Jesus, I keep saying Jesus, by the way. I'm actually sitting in a bush area, and there's where an old church used to be, so there's a cross in front of me. That could be the consistent Jesus references. Bless! Oh, why would you want to regulate nervous system? Okay, basically that thing that I said about overreacting or having an improportional reaction to certain events, feeling as though your life is in danger or that you're threatened in situations that you may not actually be threatened by, and having a full-on fear or stress response occur or a real shutdown response occur. Okay, so if that's happening in your life, I'm just going to open my car, it's a bit warm. Good God. If that is, sorry about that, if that is happening in your life, you can only imagine a very easy example in a workplace or in a relationship. If you're having extreme reactions to things that are maybe not real problems, maybe irritations, you might get into conversations or conflicts in your workplace that create disharmony, create discomfort, and ultimately lead to perhaps things not going so well in that workplace environment or in the way you would like, because there's a constant reaction and triggered state in you, causing you to show up, make choices or not make choices in ways that don't positively influence how you operate in that environment. And this is exactly the same as relationships. So you could have a previous trauma of heartbreak, abandonment, betrayal, and this goes into, upbringing, having emotional traumas growing up in environments that were unsafe for a myriad of different reasons, and then you get into a relationship that is actually relatively healthy but does trigger off some of those core wounds. And your nervous system, if it has unresolved trauma or a lot of reactivity in it, and then we could go into subconscious beliefs that impact us as well. But if you have that going on in your nervous system, and say, for example, with an abandonment fear or wound or reactivity, something happens in a relationship that triggers off this deep fear, this primal fear of abandonment. The way that you respond to that fear of abandonment could operate in many ways. Some people run away, some people latch on really hard, some people create chaos and test their partner and create dynamics that become unhealthy because they're desperately trying to prevent or soothe themselves out of that really horrific fear of abandonment. Some people can be really intense. So, learning how to calm yourself down if those triggers come up. And then we could also talk about the topic of changing your subconscious beliefs so those triggers start to be cleared. But that's another topic. Something I'm very interested in, but this is separate from this conversation. Learning how to calm your system down. So, for example, if that abandonment wound gets triggered and you go in the direction of chasing, running towards the thing, grasping, that, imagine being on the other side of that in a relationship where maybe something's happened, you need a bit of space to process, and your partner cannot give you space because this person with the abandonment wound is so frightened of having that experience of being abandoned, or that fear coming up, or of loss, or whatever that fear is, that they kind of just almost smother the person, or just don't leave, don't go, let me somehow create connection with you again. And that doesn't give this other person who needs a bit of space to process the time to process. That other person tries to get more space so they can process, which triggers even more abandonment in this person with this abandonment fear, and they chasing more, and this other person, I just need space to process it. You're like, but you're still chasing me. Whereas if you learn, as this person with the abandonment wound, how to relax your nervous system and soothe yourself out of that fear of abandonment, you're going to be able to calm down, create trust and safety in your body, balance everything out, process any fears and emotions, connect with the reality that's going on, more than likely have the mental clarity to see this person, your partner, in a situation and go, oh, something's come up. This person needs a bit of space to process, and more than likely, in lots of cases, will continue to reform that safe closeness together. That's just one example. And obviously the example of the workplace, being able to calm yourself down, it's going to give you the mental clarity, the emotional stability to make choices that benefit whatever your intentions are. Gosh, my throat. Whatever your intentions are within your career, within your workplace, or within whatever space you're operating in. So, one of the benefits. 1, 2, 3 more millions of benefits. Another one, this is probably going to be a really long video, so I'm going to have to keep this short and see if I can expand in other ways, but I'm going to have a little bit more. Going back to the topic of health and how I said when, good golly, I'm so sorry about my throat. Just bear with me, I'll try and talk through it. What, the topic of health. Okay, so when we're in, maybe I just need to pause for a second, process everything I just said, and then I'll be able to go into the next subject easily. Okay, I think I'm there. When our bodies are in a fight and flight state, firstly, you've got your adrenaline, your cortisol pumping through your veins. Your body is running on adrenaline. That's creating a lot of stress through your organs, through your bloodstream. Your body is in an activated state. It uses a lot of energy. And like I said before, that energy is going to your extremities, to your limbs. It's being used for survival. It's exhausting, actually. And that energy isn't in that calm homeostasis state being going towards your internal organs in the same way. I'm sure that it's still happening to degrees, obviously, because otherwise, we'd be alive or not. But the you want your energy to be going back to the processes that are actually needed in the moment. So if you've got no actual threats in a literal sense, and you might actually have some threats, but generally speaking, you're not going to die in this moment. But your body is constantly reacting as if you are. Firstly, it's going to stimulate an immune response as well. The constant stress in your body would lower your immune system, or at least affect how your immune system is working. And all your energy is constantly being exhausted, which can eventually, bar a lot of details and steps along the way, lead to something that ends up feeling like burnout, because your body is never getting that rest and repair. And this parasympathetic state, which is the regulated state in your nervous system, is, from what I understand, the state of rest and repair. The state where the body goes into healing, all the energy is kind of being resourced in a balanced way for where it's needed, instead of to survive and protect. I just realized I keep looking at myself while I'm talking instead of the camera. I apologize. It's just very natural to look at another human instead of a black dot. So hopefully that's fine. No one is bothered by that. So, okay, I think I'll try and leave that there in terms of explaining some of those things, just basic understanding. There's so many more examples, so many more explanations, but this is just what I currently understand and what can fit in this video. Okay, someone asked, I'm going to have a little bit more water. Someone asked, how long would you need to use nervous system regulation tools or exercises to see results? And the answer to that is, I don't know. No, that's not exactly it. Okay, so for my experience, I've seen a body worker who works with the nervous system, like a chiropractor type person, for over 10 years now, and they specifically focus on healing and capacity and growth and development in your nervous system. It's extraordinary. It's amazing. It has helped me through so much. It's such a foundational thing that I love to support myself with. So I've been doing that for over 10 years. It's been extraordinary. And I would notice, on top of that, if events would occur that put me into a really dysregulated state in between my sessions, I really needed to find out how to calm my own system down in a way that was sustainable, to get myself out of those really stressful states, this locking in my chest that I couldn't let go of, this pinching, this sense of like the blood not being in my limbs properly, like a shut down feeling, a sense of hyperness that I couldn't get out of, like that flight energy that was still activated. And yes, I could go have a session and that would help. And the results are a continuum from my chiropractic sessions. Like, they do follow through, but these greater this thing I can do for myself by myself, that's also been priceless. And then also, I can't actually do necessarily, at least from my experience yet, what my chiropractor can do for me. So there's this symbiotic kind of thing, but it's been so empowering to really learn more about my nervous system and nervous system regulation tools. I've currently been practicing nervous system regulation daily for 2 years almost. Yeah, I think so. I think it's 2 years. Life-changing. I am so much more balanced. I'm so much more calm. Someone saw me recently who hadn't seen me in quite a while, a couple of weeks ago or a month or so back, and she said that I looked so anchored in myself. And that's how I feel. There's a sense of being safe within me. I remember after doing tools regularly, I think it was a few months, or there was a period of time, and I started to have this sensation of what it actually felt like to feel safe in my body, to not feel like I was always on the run looking for the next thing to get relief. And it wasn't like always an overbearing sense, but there was a sense of it. I notice also, and it could just be where I'm at with my own journey spiritually, that there's less sense of looking for anything spiritually as well. And that could be that I have come to a place where I feel a lot more self-sourced spiritually. Like I feel very connected. I feel very guided, but I'm not looking for more and more and more tools to get anywhere or go anywhere. I feel very settled in myself. And I think nervous system regulation and healing has been a missing piece. Yoga does do it, does help a part of it, but there's something a little more mechanical about knowing how to regulate your nervous system in a very focused, intentional way to get exactly to the point of what you're doing, not just hoping I'm going to do some yoga movements that hopefully hit the target and I'll feel regulated after. And often you still will, but going, I'm going to do this exercise because I know it's going to help with a freeze state. I'm going to do that exercise because I know it's going to help relax that sense of flight or release that fight energy out of my body. That is so empowering. And it gives you freedom and it gives you choice. And so, in terms of how long, I can't answer that because I actually don't know. It's something I've just integrated into my life in a way it feels good to me. I do nervous system regulation every day, but I think I was doing it more at first to really learn my body, to learn what I needed, how it all worked, how deep I wanted to go. And you can overregulate. You can do too many regulation tools and that feels awkward as well. But it's just finding yourself, what your own balance point. And when you are in a regulated state, I've noticed naturally most of the time, depending on where we're at with that. But if I can get myself into back to homeostasis, those any suppressed emotions that can be causing a trigger of dysregulation in my system tend to be able to come up to be processed, which is a form of releasing emotional trauma, which allows a deeper level of natural regulation in your nervous system to occur. There's a woman named Irene Lyon. She's got quite a popular YouTube channel. She speaks a lot on this. She's formally trained. I want to say also, I'm not formally trained in like somatic experiencing. My use of nervous system regulation tools is just learning it, and a lot of them are very, you learn within yoga teaching. So I'm teaching as a yoga teacher these tools that fit within some of my classes, and I personally use for fun, but I haven't done those practitioner trainings for specific nervous system regulation. But the yoga and it's kind of technically in a lot of ways the same thing. Like a lot of the tools that I've learned are stuff I learned in yoga as well. I'm just doing it from the sorry about my throat, doing it from the standpoint of I'm doing this for my nervous system, not I'm doing this to stretch. And when you get used to it, you'll understand what I mean by that as well. Yeah, so how long? After a while, you find a more naturally regulated state in your body can bounce back much quicker. You can come back, it knows how to find that balance quicker. That reactivity in your system tends to not last as long, and it's like the rope. Imagine there's a rope inside of you and you get into maybe a fight state, a flight state, or a shutdown state. The analogy doesn't work so well with a shutdown state. And say a trigger goes off and you get into a flight state. Imagine there's a ball attached to this rope and it whoosh, flings off like 50 meters away. And what this rope is attached to is your center. When you have more what people sometimes call vagal tone, so it's almost like a muscle, that muscle of knowing regulation in your system, or capacity and elasticity in a sense in your nervous system, strength to go from a regulated to dysregulated state with more ease, with less intensity and stuckness. So when you have more vagal tone, more, let's just call it familiarity with moving through different states of your nervous system, and coming back to a regulated state where that's your home place a lot more. That ball that went, maybe 50 meters might only go 20 meters the next time, and it can fling back or come back much quicker, or you can do tools that pull it back to you much quicker, instead of being like, oh god, it's taken me days to get that ball back to its center again. It can just it doesn't go as far. These triggers don't explode you in such intense ways in the same way. Have a little more water. I've been talking for 30 minutes straight, so I'm going to wrap this up in a second, but I hope that makes sense. So the results that you're going to get are going to be the peace. It's going to be the safety. It's going to be health. The impact that nervous system regulation has had on my own health. I have a massive health journey that I haven't shared about, but I'm still, in that process as well with my health. The impact that nervous system regulation has on your own health, in the sense that your body is in a healing state so much more, is in a calm state so much more, that is priceless. But what I'm also wanting to say as well is, as you learn and understand the different states of your nervous system and how to come back into balance, you might start implementing tools that feel good to you, but you actually learn things that you do throughout your day, like going for a walk, maybe having a bath, having a shower, and the different temperatures you use. You learn how these things help to balance and regulate your nervous system. So you start, the process of doing it kind of integrates into your daily life, and you are understanding what you're doing. So it doesn't feel like a chore necessarily, like some forms of exercise, yoga exercise, some forms of meditation, different all sorts of different things can help you. Even just being around a person who's very calming and in a regulated state can assist in this thing called co-regulation as well. So it once you get into that balanced place, you actually start to realize and pull from and strengthen the areas of your life that are just the things you got to do in your day that support you in regulating your nervous system. It becomes a part of your daily life. So it's not like, oh, how long do I have to do this? And also another thing, I really have to finish this video. So many ideas. Also another thing, it depends on who you are, where you are at, what your life experiences have been, how many, significant traumas that you really feel have affected you might be stored in your system. And I say that lightly, like significant traumas, because this planet and this world has a lot of things that can trigger people and affect people, and you can't measure trauma. You really can't. There's for so many other reasons. But you might be a person that uses a few tools for a while, really finds that you've created a balance point within yourself, and you don't feel like you actually need to do things. You've found that capacity, you've found that balance. You're, generally speaking, in a regulated place most of the time. And maybe here and there something might happen to throw you off, or just a natural event that puts you into a fight and flight state. And then you have those tools to know how to help yourself back into safety within yourself. So some people might just get to that place where it's like, you know what, I'm good. And if I ever need tools, I know what they are and I can intentionally implement them. And life itself can help me just find that balance just by living, moving through time. But this learning the tools to regulate your nervous system, especially if you've dealt with a lot of panic and anxiety and stress and trauma and unfortunate events, or just events that have really upset you, that you feel impacted by that constant fight and flight, PTSD, anxiety, even depression states, that's where it's so worth learning these tools. And there's so much more I can say on this. I'm still very much a learner. I'm not an expert on it. I'm learning and sharing what I'm learning. And I'm very much in the beginning phases in a lot of ways, and, further down the line in a lot of ways as well. But yeah, that's a hard question. How long does it take to get results? It's going to be different for every person. So for me, if I can just be stressed out one day, use a tool, and have this ability to calm myself down and feel better, that's the result. Do you know what? Actually, the result is knowing there's something I can do to help myself instead of feeling helpless. The result is the knowing and having the power, the knowing that I have the power to actually help myself if a state like that happens, regardless of whether I implement it or not. That internal safety of being able to support myself, that is the result. It's just the knowledge. It's the knowledge of my own freedom, having freedom from fear, freedom from, obviously not permanently because life is life, but freedom from states of distress and being able to help myself. That's the result. And a final question for this video. This woman asked, what age is it best for? Can any age do it, kind of thing? Woman, I don't know if it was a woman, it could have been anyone. They didn't have like a gender specific name. From my understanding, pretty much anyone can do it. I mean, obviously that babies aren't going to be able to do it for themselves because they need to understand, I don't think I have to explain that. But as far as I understand, anyone can do it at any age. Does everyone at every age need to do it? Probably not. A lot of kids, for the most part, are in such a relaxed state most of the time. I mean, not always. Some kids are going to need it more than others, and they're going to need times to calm down. But that accumulated layer upon layer of stress, at least personally, I noticed in my body after 18. I mean, it was there in different ways before, and maybe I was doing a lot of sport as a teenager, teenager. So I was getting release of regulation through my system. But yeah, it's the adults that seem to be like, oh my God, what's happening all of a sudden? Or now I'm aware of what I was dealing with. Not in all cases. I don't really know that I can answer that fully and properly. But I'm going to finish this video off. I will say the type of chiropractic that I do that works with your nervous system, I saw the guy I work with, he was working on a baby, so a newborn. So a mother came in, was having her session. She had the child on her chest, and he was doing the gentle touches on the spine to help balance the nervous system and stuff on the baby. So, I guess any age really. And babies regulate themselves by being held by their mothers. Nervous system regulation is a thing that is innate to our bodies that happens all the time. So it's not like a skill you necessarily, the tools can be a skill, but the process is just the fact of your body and nervous system. Okay, this has been a very long video. I could just go, but I won't. I feel a bit spacey. I need some water and I need something to eat. Another way to help your nervous system: rest, hydration, nourishment, and also relaxation. Okay, for today, I will stop this now, otherwise I'll keep talking. Thank you for being here. Feel free to comment, to ask questions. You are welcome to like and subscribe, all that stuff. I'm not really big on asking for those things because you don't need to ask for those things, in my opinion. People do what they want to do, and I'm glad when they do it. But yeah, feel free to share this video if you like, or reach out in whatever way. So thank you for being here, and I imagine and trust and hope that I will see you, hear from you, or intend that you'll enjoy the videos I make in the future as well. Okay, bye-bye.